Hey everyone, today I'm going to be teaching you how to change the hammer spring on a BRK Ghost. This goes for any of the Ghost, the compact, the plus, the high power, everything is the exact same when it comes to the hammer spring. So one of the reasons that we would exchange the high power spring for a medium or low is because you can still have the same frame, same barrel length and everything like that, but if you put a low into the hammer spring, you're gonna get a lot less velocity. So say you're in the backyard and you only have 20, 30 yards. You don't necessarily need the high power that this gun is capable of right now. So all you have to do is change that spring, bring that velocity down several hundred feet per second, not as much chance for through and throughs, or if you're in a barn, somewhere where there's something you don't wanna shoot through, reducing the velocity there also helps a ton while your accuracy still remains beautiful. So when you buy a Ghost carbine, it's gonna come with the low power hammer spring. When you buy the Ghost Plus, you're gonna get the medium hammer spring. And when you buy the Ghost HP, it's gonna come standard with the high power hammer spring. So what I'm gonna show you today, this is a 22 high power. So it currently has the high power spring in here right now. And I am going to put in the low just to kind of show you how to do it, number one, and give you a rough estimate of what kind of velocity you can expect with a certain regulator pressure and a certain dial of the wheel. So let's get it going. The one thing you'll need for this, very simple, 3mm Allen wrench. So we'll take the gun here, and there is 4 different screws that you'll have to remove and 1 that you'll have to move. So the first screw we're gonna do is on the butt plate. We're just gonna loosen this. No need to take it all the way out. Move this downward until you expose this hole right here. This hole, your Allen's gonna go through, and this will be your first one you'll take all the way out. And then there's 3 in a triangle right up here. You're gonna take all of these out. I like to keep the screws in there and take everything off together. That way you don't lose screws. Now this is gonna pull directly off, just like this. The power wheel is going to be still there. So the next thing we need to do is take this power wheel off, and you'll notice there is an indent right here. That indent matches up with this ball bearing right here. So what that does is you can't put this in the wrong way. As long as this ball bearing and this indent are matched up together, you know it's gonna be in there properly. So take that out as well. Now, all you have to do is tip the gun over a little bit, shake it out. Here is the high power spring. So we're going to set that aside. We're going to the low power spring and just go in the reverse order. Just like we took the other one out, put that one in. And then, like I mentioned, this ball bearing, and there's a little notch right here. Make sure those line up. There we go. It should go in smooth, fluid, just like that. And then repeat the steps of getting all these screws back in. Okay, tighten those all down. Loosen this one back up, and you can just slide it up to proper placement, screw it back down, and that's it. We just changed the hammer spring from a high power to a low power. Simple as that. You only need 1 tool, 3mm Allen, and what this is going to do is the high pressure spring, it has a lot more tension on it, right? So low power, much more springy. What that does is when you pull it back with the low power, you're just gonna pull back much easier, and it's gonna allow the valve to open up a little bit easier than if there's a lot of spring tension like the high power. This is gonna result in lower velocities. So to test the hammer springs and how much they really change, I started off with the 22 high power with the standard spring that comes in it, which is the high power spring. I used a Rangemaster King 25 grain pellet, and with the minimum, I got 870 feet per second. On level 10, I got 950 feet per second. And on the maximum, I got 980 feet per second. When I proceeded, I took that one out. I put a low power spring in, and the numbers I got with the Rangemaster 22 caliber, 25 grain, so the exact same pellet. On minimum, 495 feet per second. On power level 10, 645 feet per second. And on max power, I got 760 feet per second. All of this was done with my regulator set at 140 bar. I didn't change that at all. So the extreme spread between the minimum on the low power was 495 and the minimum on the high power spring was 870. Exact same regulator pressure, exact same pellet, exact same everything else. So you can see the really significant difference that a hammer spring makes, all by not changing anything else but just that spring. Now, those numbers aren't going to be perfect for everything. If your regulator is higher, if your caliber is different, all of those numbers will vary pretty vastly. However, it's just an example of how low you can get it with a low power spring to how high you can get it with a high powered spring. So the really cool thing about the hammer spring is it doesn't lock you into just having one type of gun. Yeah, you may have bought the high power originally, but if you get that low power or medium power spring, it basically makes your gun whatever you want it to be. You can get the velocity that you're looking for without having to buy a whole new gun or having to buy a new regulator or new plenum or anything like that. It's a simple spring, and it really dictates how much velocity you can get from the exact same settings on your gun. As you can see, the Ghost is extremely versatile. You can exchange the calibers, the barrel lengths, the hammer spring, and BRK is always innovating. They're gonna have different springs coming out, so there'll be even more options for you, so you can fine tune your rifle to exactly your specifications that you want, simply with doing the regulator, the hammer spring, and this power wheel. It couldn't be easier to tune a BRK Ghost.